Hey, what's up everybody, Richard Gaming Guy here. Today in this video I'm going to show you guys how to get CARNEVIL up and running on Batocera version 35 for light gun gaming. For this video I'm using a Sinden light gun as well as a Wii remote with a Mayflash Dolphin bar for player 2. My main gun though is the Sinden light gun. So the experience that I have right now is I've gone through the initial input settings, mapping, and I've done a video in the past on how to set up the majority of your MAME titles on Batocera version 35 with Sinden light gun or Wii remote, whatever light gun controller you're using. That's still relevant for this process. I'll put a link up here at the top of your screen to that video. I do recommend you checking out that full-length video, not just the crash course sort of portion of this video that is going to address all of that. That one's just a little bit more in depth. This video I'm going to kind of speed through that process and show you the main part of what we need to do getting CARNEVIL up and running. So click the link up here, click the link in the description of this video, either or, it's going to take you to the same place, just so you see exactly what you need to do in greater detail for the initial input mapping for this title. I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys, bear with me. It's not a super straightforward process for this title. I've spent about 3 weeks going through trial and error trying to get this up and running. I went through phases where I would just delete this game from my build altogether because it was so frustrating, and then I would just add it back in and start trying to chip away at figuring it out. I went on Google, I found people with this issue all the way back to 2004, so this has been a problem for a lot of people. It has a very specific fix, and luckily I was able to figure that out. That's why I'm sharing it with you here in this video. So let's jump into it. I'll show you exactly what you need to do. I'll show you around my exact setup here, just so you can understand exactly what I have going on here and what it takes to get this game up and running. In the end though, I promise you, you're going to start being able to dive into CARNEVIL. You won't have to go through any settings adjustments after you follow this video. You'll be able to just launch the title and dive right into it. So let's jump into it and get going. Alright, so here we are in Batocera version 35. This is my light gun build, so every game in here is a light gun game. So we're going to jump into Arcade Classics. Here is CARNEVIL. So before we jump into the title and I show you exactly what I'm experiencing right now and then how to overcome it, let's jump into our advanced game options here and I'll show you exactly what I have going on for settings. So I'm using the regular MAME emulator. There's a few additional options here from Batocera version 35. The majority of these are not going to even load up the game. It's just going to kick you back out to your game collection menu. So go with the original MAME. Everything else is set to auto here. It doesn't mean you can't go in here and adjust your settings. I just haven't. I've kept everything as auto. So I'm going to back out here. So now in terms of what I have on hand for my setup here, I have a keyboard. You're going to make sure that you have a keyboard because you're going to need that in order to go through your settings. I also have a mouse here. I don't think we actually need the mouse, but I'm always using that for anything within the file system here. We shouldn't need that for this process today, but good to have nonetheless. Now for light gun controllers, I use the Sinden light gun for the majority of my light gun gaming on this build. I'm usually playing by myself, but I also have as a backup for player 2, I have a Wii remote here, which I use along with the Mayflash Dolphin bar. I have the Wii remote sitting in this light gun casing here, really easy to use, great action on this. Now I know for Batocera version 35, they recommend not using a Mayflash Dolphin bar with the Wii remote. However, I've been using it quite extensively here. I've tested it out in a bunch of different collections and the experience there is pretty much perfect. I also of course use it within the Nintendo Wii collection, which has a lot of light gun games. Works absolutely perfect there. So you know, I'm not sure why they're not recommending it. I know it has some issues in certain emulators. However, for the majority of everything, it works really well. So if you have a Mayflash Dolphin bar with a Wii remote currently, and you think you need to get rid of it and get something else for Batocera version 35, don't believe the hype, you don't have to do that. So we're going to jump into CARNEVIL here. I'm going to show you exactly what the experience is like on here so far. So let me load this game in, and player 1 is going to be the Sinden light gun, but I'll show you with both of them exactly what the experience is like right now and how it's not working. Now I have a video on how to map and set up MAME games on Batocera version 35 with the Sinden light gun or whatever light gun controller you want to use. I've gone through that process within this game so far. It works, like I said, for the majority of your MAME games. CARNEVIL is one of the games it does not work 100% on. It works for mapping your controller, your light gun controller, but I'll show you exactly what we're dealing with here so you can understand. I know it's kind of confusing if you haven't already experienced it. So I have everything set up, and I'm going to hit tab on my keyboard. That's going to open up this little window menu right here. We're going to go into input settings. This is all outlined in that video that I just mentioned. I'll put a link in the description of this video if you aren't already aware how to set up the majority of your MAME games. And we're going to have to do this in this process as well, and I'll actually walk you through that process right here. So this is kind of a crash course. I do recommend checking out that full-length video. It's a little bit more in depth, but we're going to go into input. We'll actually go down here to input assignments, general in parentheses. And here you can see we have player 1 through 10. This isn't a 10-player game, only a 2-player game, so we only have to worry about the first 2. So player 1 controls. In here, if you haven't yet set any of this up, it's going to be kind of auto filled in. So what we're looking for is player 1 button 1. This is going to be your trigger function. So if we select this option, it's going to give us the option to assign this. So I'm moving my gun in my hand here. You can see at the bottom of the screen how it's kind of fluctuating different commands. So I recommend putting this down on a flat surface so it's not moving. There's no risk of it moving. You can hit delete on your keyboard if you have a delete button. It's going to clear out that. You can see the function now reads none. I'm going to select it with enter, and now you can see down at the bottom it says none. I'm going to just pull the trigger on my Sinden light gun. It populates in the trigger function, which populates in as gun 1 button 1. We need to do the same thing for player 1 button 2. I've already done that. That's just the pump action on your Sinden light gun. So go ahead and do the same thing. Select that function. We're going to hit the pump, and now it says gun 1 button 2. We'll do the same thing. We start and select down here. So for player 1 start, select it, hit whatever you want to assign as your start button on your Sinden light gun or whatever light gun you're using. I just hit the button that's closest to the D-pad on the left hand side. Same thing with select. Just going to do the button in front of that so it populates in as gun 1 button 2. All we have to do there, if you want to set up your player 2, hit escape, go down to player 2 controls, hit enter. Same deal here. Assigning, of course, player 1 button 1, for this one, player 2 button 1, player 2 button 2, and then player 2 start, player 2 select. All you have to do here, hit escape twice. It's going to bring you back out to this page. Now we have to go into that top option, input assignments, this system. And now you can see we also have to do the same thing here. Some of these may automatically populate in from the last mapping that we did. Here, player 1 trigger, it's mapped correctly. Same thing with pump. Go down here to player 1 start, mapped correctly. Coin 1 maps correctly. So do I have player 2 in here mapped? I do. So player 2, I'll map that right now because not all of those are done correctly. So player 2 start, I have my Wii remote right here. I'm just going to hit player 2 start, assign a function to that. So it populates in as return, but I just hit the plus on the Wii remote there. Now we'll go down to coin 2. I'm going to hit, let's go to the 1 on the Wii remote. And let's see, player 2 trigger should be done correctly, and it is. Yep, player 2 trigger. Just to confirm it, pull the trigger on the Wii remote right here. And then for pump, I don't have a pump function on here, obviously. There's no pump function. So I'm going to use the A button on top here. So just hit the A button, and there you can see gun 2, button 2. We're good to go. Both of these are mapped correctly. We're going to hit escape. We'll hit escape 2 times, 3 times, brings us back to the game. So I have this gun here. Let me grab the other one. It's going to be tough to do this all at once, but you can see they're actually tracking on screen, so that's a good sign. We have movement. They seem to be really precise. So let's actually jump into our title. So there's start there, and what did we assign to start? There we go. So both of these are populating in. Both appear to be working, but let me pull triggers. I can't make any selections, so the trigger is not functioning on screen. So it's going to count down. We have 5 seconds left. We'll let it count down here. It's going to auto launch the game, and you're going to see the frustrating experience that I have here. Movement's perfect. Everything seems to be running great, but the triggers are not functioning. They're not registering on screen. So you're going to notice the bullets go down every time I pull both of these triggers, but it doesn't register on screen. So I'm just going to get annihilated here. See how my bullets are going down? I can reload. Got to manually reload, but I die before I even get a chance to reload because I'm pulling the trigger, but it's not registering in the game, so I can't actually shoot these guys. So really frustrating because everything else seems to be on point. So just to start over fresh here, let's hit our hotkey button. We're going to jump back out to our game collection menu. All right, so we're back to our game collection menu. We are going to relaunch CARNEVIL, and this is where we're going to start using the keyboard now. So we're going to let the game load in, and we want to ideally wait till it gets past this initial screen here where it starts loading in settings and doing the little test. So that should be popping up right about now. There we go. All right, so now you're going to hit tab again on your keyboard. So now we're going to navigate down to the bottom where it says select new system. We're going to go ahead and hit enter. It's going to load in this page right here. So we have a bunch of titles, or you likely have a bunch of titles in here. So we need to scroll all the way down to CARNEVIL. So it's going to take a little while to do that. There's a little arrow right here. We can hold that down. It'll speed up the process, but it's still going to take certainly a few seconds at the very least. Everything's in alphabetical order. Luckily, this is a C title, so we are just about to hit the B's right now. All right, so here we have CARNEVIL, and I'm on version 1.0.3. So we are going to just click on that, and I right-clicked on that. So here you can see we open up our BIOS here on screen, very similar to the menu that we had before. So I right-clicked on there to get this pulled up. So now we're going to click on, or we're going to select rather, advanced options. This is going to be selected with the enter key on your keyboard. So now what we're going to do is under input options, which is about 3/4 of the way down, you're going to see a bunch of different options here. We have mouse, we have joystick, we have light gun. Light gun by default is turned off. Just go ahead and turn it on. You can turn it on by hitting your enter button on your keyboard. All we have to do there is just enable that. So once we've enabled light gun input, we're going to scroll down to the bottom here, and the bottom option is return to previous screen. We're going to select that. Down at the bottom, we have the option to save system settings. We are going to save system settings by hitting enter. You get a little confirmation that it's saved at the bottom. Now drop down one option and select return to previous menu. We'll select that, and then from here we are going to hit escape. That brings us out of that menu entirely, and now we can drop down to close menu. So we are now in our title here. I recommend exiting the game entirely. Hit your hotkey function, brings you back out to your game collection menu. Relaunch CARNEVIL. Don't have to do that, but it's good to just give it a full reset. Come in here fresh. You save those settings, so we don't have to worry about any issues there. So we're going to let this advance through that initial settings testing page there, which is the screen right here. And now on your keyboard, you are going to hit F2 and either the minus or the plus equal key on your keyboard. So both of those at the same time, you're going to hit those, and it's going to kind of give you this volume screen that populated in there. Hit it again, and it brings you to this page, which is your diagnostics. Now, these are the settings for the game. This is what you would have gone into if you were operating an original CARNEVIL arcade cabinet. These would be the settings that you had within there to go in and calibrate your guns, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So with the keys on our keyboard, we're going to hit the plus minus key on your keyboard. That's going to allow you to navigate down this list. So we're going to highlight gun calibration here, and we're going to hit F2. That's going to bring us into our gun calibration, and we need to do this in order to get this working. So notice that it says left gun green in parentheses. That's going to be player one. So choose whichever one you went through the mapping process with previously. And for me, that's the Sinden light gun here. So it says point gun at X and pull trigger. You notice that there's a flickering X in the top left corner. I'm going to navigate up to that and pull the trigger. Now it says bottom right, point gun at X and pull the trigger. So I'm going to go down here, and I have to kind of adjust myself a little bit off screen here, just the way I'm set up in here. Alright, so I just did that, had to kind of adjust myself. So now it says point gun towards screen to test targeting, pull trigger to accept. So you can see the X that is green behind there is pretty much dead center. As I move, it does kind of go out of there a little bit, but once I kind of slow down a little bit, which is how I'd be playing, I'd be going place to place like this, it tracks really nicely. So I'm going to pull the trigger to confirm everything. Now it says right gun purple. So that is going to be player 2, and you want to do this with 2 light guns if possible. If not, then you can kind of fudge your way through this by basically just going through the player 2 function. You can use a gamepad controller. It's not going to be, you know, super accurate, but you can get through the process to at least kind of skip it. But you wouldn't have the functionality of player 2 unless you came back through this process and set it up as I'm doing here on screen. So player 2, it's my Wii remote right here in the light gun casing. Same deal, gonna go over that X in the top right corner, pull the trigger, same thing in the top, in the bottom right. I said top right, but top left before. Bottom right now, gonna go ahead and pull the trigger there. Same thing in the center, it's tracking perfectly, pull it to confirm. Brings us back out to this menu again. So now on our keyboard, we're going to hit that plus and minus to navigate down, F2 to hit exit, and we should be into our title right now. So actually I might have to hit F2 twice. Oh, no, it did it on its own. So we're going to let this load in. Everything should work now, 100%. So I've got both of these. It's going to be kind of dicey here because 2 is tough. Actually, I probably don't even need to use the second one there. So we've got credits in there already from last time we played. So hit my start button for player 1 and ready for this. Look at that, works perfect. Was able to select where I wanted to go here. Now I can play this game. So I'm kind of in a weird location for the sake of this video, so it may not register perfectly, but at the very least we'll be able to start playing and shooting. So look at that, perfect. The pump here works perfectly for the reload, so we know that we set that up. This particular title does not have the off-screen reload, so you do need to use the pump, or if you're using a different light gun controller, then you can obviously use a different button function for that reload. So on my, and I'll jump in here as I get murdered there, jump in here on here. I don't have the pump on this, but I assigned it to the A button. So here I can shoot, give me a guy to shoot at, there we go. I just hit the A button and I'm able to reload. So player 1 just died, but player 2 here is doing fine. Kind of a pain to hit the A button, or not really a pain, but you definitely lose some of the experience because the original cabinet had that pump function. So having a Sinden light gun that enables you to you know, reload the same way you would have on the original cabinet is pretty darn awesome. So everything's working perfectly. We are good to go in CARNEVIL. All right, guys, you can see from this process, definitely a lot of steps involved here, a lot of hurdles to overcome, but in the end, we're able to save all of our settings. So now we can just jump into CARNEVIL, grab our light gun controllers, and dive right into the gameplay. We don't have to go through any sort of settings adjustments anymore or anything like that. We've got everything ready to go for future use. So if you enjoyed this video and you found this information helpful, please smash the thumbs up button on the video. It's a huge help to me here on YouTube. And of course, hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop for all future videos here on the Retro Gaming Guy YouTube channel. Thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoy playing CARNEVIL on Batocera version 35. I'll see you in the next video.